Bruchim Ha'Baim, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to Hanukkah 5785. It's Parashat Miketz, and we're going to review a little bit of the Halachot of Hanukkah. So last year I put together the list of the 15 different types of menorahs and the materials to use on the menorah. So every menorah has a different status. It was originally put together by a rabbi called Rabbi Yitzhak Sagi Nahor. He lived like about 930 years ago. He was the son of the Ra'ava, then he was blind. He was a big mikubal, and he originally made this list. So take a look at it. So he says, if you're going to have a menorah, there's different qualities of the menorah that you could have. If you have zahav, that's the best, gold. Second would be silver. That's a lot of people have silver. So you'll see, but we're going to get into a little bit of a question, is what happens when you use a silver menorah, but you use a glass cup inside. We'll get to that in a second. Then you have nechoshet domeh lazahav, which is copper, but it's a yellow copper, like a bronze material. Then you have nechoshet, which is copper, but a red copper, like a brass type of copper. Then you have matechet hamechuna nechoshet, also a type of metal with a copper mixture in it. Again, if you notice that they're all metals that would be similar to gold. Outside of silver, they're all ones that would be similar in color. Then he says tin, bedil, lead, oferet. We don't really use those today too much. Then there's even, stone. Glass is chuchit. Etzem, bone. They would take a bone and make a Chanukah out of that. Then they have cheretz mitzupeh be'avad, which is like ceramic but covered with like a cover on it. And then they have a regular cheretz. It's just a regular ceramic that's not at all plated with any type of cover on it. And then you have klipat rimon. He says to take a pomegranate shell, and then he says klipat egoz hindi, to take an Indian walnut shell, and then the last one would be klipat alon, to use an oak tree shell. Those are the 15. Now, why is this important? Because the Gemara tells us hazahid behener hav yan lebanim tamidei chachamim, that someone who's careful in the way that he lights the candle. The Gemara discusses his candles of Shabbat or Hanukkah. We'll say for this discussion Hanukkah. He's going to have children tamidei chachamim, but we see everybody light their candles on Hanukkah, and not everyone has children that are tamidei chachamim. Tamidei chachamim are not just people that learn Torah, not just someone who has a title of Rav. Tamid Chacham is a high level. It's a person that really, he works on himself, and not just in learning, he's living the Torah. So why don't we see it? So Rabbi Yitzhak Sagi Nahor, he tells you, because a lot of times they do the mitzvah, but they're not doing it in the particular measurements or the halakha. I'll give you a good example. If you notice, these are 15 that he lists that you could use that have good status and the ones. Let's say a guy goes to the Judaica store and he buys a beautiful lucite menorah, or it's made out of iron, or it's made out of pewter. Okay, beautiful. It's great. It's on sale. Looks hadid. It looks gorgeous. It's just like the Beit HaMikdash. Yeah, but it's not even any of the 15 here. And so he didn't even check off. Even by the way, if he would have used an oak tree shell, he would at least cover what Rabbi Yitzhak Sagi Nahor is doing, as opposed to using one that. And so there is the particulars of halacha. It's not a discussion of whether it's kosher. Of course, it's kasher, it's great, but you know the different levels, the quality. You know, everyone comes to everybody, comes to his shoes. He wants the best quality. You look at the sneaker; it's not one speck of dust on his sneaker. He keeps it in perfect kit. So why, when it comes to the mitzvot, do the same thing? At least know that there's 15 levels, and he brings this down. Okay, next thing we'll do quickly is the location. Where should you light your Hanukkah? In the olden days, yesteryear, a lot of times they lit outside. But even the Maran Shulchan Aruch already had listed and stated that if it's zman sakana, makom sakana, a dangerous place, or it's risky, don't do it outside. Do it inside your house. So for years, I actually did it outside in Brooklyn. We did it outside of the house. You remember, Shaoli? We did it outside. We had a little box. I would light it outside. And there's even reference to this when you read the Bimemet Yah. It says Vehedliku nerot behatzrot kochecha, that they lit the menorah in the courtyard of the Beit HaMikdash. Now, there's a few reasons for this. The basic reason was that they were cleaning up the Beit HaMikdash. It was a mess. The Greeks destroyed it. They defiled it. What do I mean defiled? They took pigs. They took donkeys, camels, and they sacrificed them on the Mizbeach. Or they did things to defile the Beit HaMikdash, so they had to clean it. So while they were cleaning the Hechal, the Kodesh, the Mizbeach, they took everything out. They're like, all right, let's empty the whole Beit HaMikdash right now. Let's clean everything. Let's purify the whole place. So when they lit it outside of the normal place. Normally when they lit the Menorah, not the Hanukkah, but the Menorah, no one saw it. It wasn't visible. If you went to the Beit HaMikdash, you could not see the Menorah. Now, the Gemara does say that Shlomo HaMelech added 10 menorahs outside in the first Beit HaMikdash in order to give it more light, illumination, more beauty. But the original menorah, at the time of the Beit Rishon, which was from Moshe Rabbeinu, was the one that was in the Hechal, was not seen by anybody. So when they did the miracle, when they finally won the war, they won the battle, they took control, they took it outside, and they lit it in the outside area. So therefore, when you do the mitzvah, it would be most appropriate to light it outside, and that's how they used to do it. If you look at the Geonim, you'll look at some of the Mefarshim. They bring down that they lit it one tefach on the opposite side of the mezuzah, outside of the house. So wherever your mezuzah was, on the opposite side, it was on that side, on the outside of the house. When it became Zman Sakana, they said to do in the same location, just bring it in the inside of the house, on the inside, next to the door. That's one of the locations where you could light it. And I'm going to go through the other ones here. The doorway obviously would be the best one. In that situation, you would have the menorah on one side, you would have the mezuzah on the other, and then you would be in the center lighting the menorah. So you would have three mitzvot. What are the three mitzvot? You would have the mezuzah, you would have yourself, which is a Yehudi with tzitzit. That would be the second, and you would have the menorah, the third. You'd have those three mitzvot connected. The third place to put it, which is a new place, I say, because if you look at from the Sfarim like 200 years back, this wasn't so common, but the window. Now, a lot of times people say, I want to do Pirsumei Nisa and everything. Okay, it's great, but that wasn't the main location, the window. The way we do it today wasn't the main location. And recently, when I was in Israel, I asked from Rabbi Mutzafi and what were their opinions from the rabbis there. And I liked lighting outside when I had done it for many years. And I did it because I learned by Rabbi Mansour for over 20 years. I was praying by him. He did it, and I felt it was the most appropriate. But then Rabbi Mutzafi was bringing it down. No, he said you should do it in the inside of the house. He goes, there's a lot of reasons to do it in the inside, even from the side of the Sod, from the side of the Kabbalah, from the esoteric side. He goes, there's a lot of reasons to do it inside, and even to put it on the table, to do it on the table where you eat. That'd also be okay. That'd be even the fourth place. So you could do it outside, you could do it on your doorway inside, you could do it by the window, or even on your table. You have 4 locations that you can do it, and they're all okay. And so what we did in the 3 years after is we started lighting in the inside, like Rabbi Mutzafi had brought down. And so till now we light on the inside. If there's a window that's nearby, great. But that wasn't the ikar. It doesn't have. Now there is Pirsumei Nisa for other people to see, but Pirsumei Nisa is not necessarily that other people are going to see it, because Pirsumei Nisa you could have Pirsumei Nisa by lighting the Hanukkah in Wichita, Kansas, if there's no Jews around there. So what do you mean? Who's the Pirsumei Nisa for? So, of course, the Hachamim bring down different reasons for it. But what I'm trying to say is that the window in and of itself is not the ikar. Now, if a person lives in a high building and it's over 20 amot, we're going to get to the where you should place it, the height. If it's over 20 amot, many of the mefarshim say not to light it in the window at all, because what are you lighting? No one's going to lift their head up all the way up like this to see it. Chama Bajah brings down, he said, but if you live, let's say, in the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, where you have the buildings across from each other, and your window can see the other window, the other apartments on the 30th, 40th floor, whatever it is, then lighting there would have to be Pirsumei Nisa, because when you lit it there, the other guy from the other building is going to be able to see it right away. It's great. It's hadid. You get that Pirsumei Nisa. But there are opinions that say, no, if in that case, just do it by the door, by the window, or by the table, and you're covered. Do it from the inside. Quickly, Rabbi Elbaz from Great Neck, he brought down today an interesting halacha of lighting it. Let's say you go to a hotel and they have a lot of Jews coming to the hotel, and they all want to light it together. So what they do is they take one room, and they light it all together in one room, all the Hanukkahs on a table or multiple tables. He said that would be beracha lebatala. And Rabbi Elbaz was bringing down that from almost all the opinions, it's beracha lebatala. Because if one Hanukkah is there, then you don't need to have everyone light multiple ones there, especially Sfaradim. And so how would you do it on that night? So he said the best way to do is, because you can't light with fire and flame inside the hotel rooms. They don't permit it. And, it's not good to recommend it. So what he would do is he would light with an electric one without a beracha. And do the whole process without a beracha. Or be the first to light or light together. And you could also add some money together if you want to do one in the lobby as one Hanukkah for everybody together. And then therefore you can have some involvement of that. So next thing, what is the height of where to put the Hanukkah? So it could be placed directly on the floor. It's mutar to be placed on the floor. But the best location would be 3 tefachim from the floor. And the flame should be at the 10 tefachim height. So I drew it out on the board, and I took a picture. I'll put it here. And so what you see in the picture is that I lift the Hanukkah about 3 tefachim above the floor with a short, small table. You have the Hanukkah, and then I have the flame reach to 10 tefachim. Now, what's a tefach? A tefach is 8 centimeters from Rav Na'eh, or from the Hazon Ish, 9.6. So let's say 8. So 24 centimeters from the floor you would place the Hanukkah, and 240 centimeters, actually 10 tefachim, 80 centimeters maximum, you would have the flame, the location of the flame. So let's say if you do it on a table that's too high, and it's a Hanukkah that's too tall, like if I noticed when I was in Israel recently, in Yerushalayim, in Mahaneh, in the Shuk Bukhari, I noticed that they had these new beautiful Hanukkahs. They're gorgeous. They're all solid metal, one piece, and it goes all the way to the floor, and it's like almost 72 inches high. Like it's almost like 5-6 feet high. It's really, really nice, these Hanukkahs. Gorgeous. But it wouldn't match any of these heights. Right. It would be completely outside. Now again, it's 100% kasher, beautiful, but I'm talking about, like, if you want to do it according to the specifics, here you have another one where it's not supposed to be so high. So it would probably be, if you look at a regular window height, like here in the Midrash, it would be
like eye level would be...
Eye level would be too high. Oh. Eye level would be too high. So if you want to know exactly, 10 tefachim is 80 centimeters. So I'll convert it for you right here so you can have it. 80 centimeters in inches. It's 32 inches would be where the flame, 31.5 inches would be where the flame should be from the floor, from the ground. And so there is an inyan on that as well. The last holiday that we had was Sukkot, and Hacham Salman Mutzafi, alav shalom, he's the rabbi of Hacham Ben Zion Mutzafi. He had a famous custom that he would like to link the first holiday with the second holiday. What do you mean the first with the second? The Oraita holiday of Sukkot, he would want to connect it to Hanukkah. So what would he do? Is he would take a piece of his schach, take a little piece, and he would make from them little pitilot. You know, the pitilot that go inside the floaters for the oil, and he would use those in order to light the Hanukkah. So what we did last year is I was in Miami, and we had palm trees that we used for our schach. I took the leaves, I dried them, and I saved them, and we gave them to all the students. We had 6-7 students in Miami. We gave them to all the students, and everyone cut the little piece of the palm tree, which was the schach, which is a mitzvah deoraita, and we used that as the basis for the mitzvah de rabbanan of lighting the Hanukkah. So lucky for everyone here today, and I'm going to give you a piece of the schach, a deoraita that I saved from Miami. I had a bunch of it, and we're going to each put it together. So when you light your Hanukkah, when you're lighting with oil, even with wax, however you do it, you put it right inside and you light it. and you have that mitzvah of Hacham Salman Mutzafi, alav shalom. Okay, let's continue. There's a Segulot that's brought down from the Rebbe Mikotsk. The Rebbe Mikotsk. He says, Segulot refu'ah, that if someone is sick or doesn't feel well somewhere in his body, litol shemen shenish'ar menorat Chanukah ולמרוח על מקום המחלה ויש רמז על זה בדרך מליצה מהפיות ונותר הקנקנים נעשה נס לשושנים. He says that if you take the leftover oil after the flame already had gone out from there, save all the oil, and he recommends he puts it on externally to rub it on a part of the body that might bother. Again, I'm not a doctor, so ask your local physician, but this is what he recommends. And he says it's even brought down in the song in Ma'asur. It says uminotad kankanim, the leftover of the kankan of the jug. Na'asa nes la shoshanim, a miracle happened to the shoshanim, to the roses. The Jewish people are called the roses. So what he's saying is that from the leftover oil of the jug that was found in the Beit HaMikdash, they did the miracle of the Menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. He goes, but here, use the same terminology with yours. With the leftover oil in your Menorah, use that component and put it into, and from there you'll have a miracle from it. So he says it's also Segulot, to leave the oil, like it says, Sheyare mitzvot me'akevim et ha'puranut, that the leftover mitzvot, when you save them, especially the Oraita mitzvah, or any mitzvah, even the Rabbanan, it protects you. So for years back, I always saved the leftover oils, the wicks from the Hanukkah. I put them all together and I saved them. And you have them. And if ever you want to dispose of them, you dispose of them big dusha. What do? On Pesach, when you're burning all the hametz, you throw it in there and you made a mitzvah out of the thing. You don't have to throw it in the garbage. You can do it. And even with the leftover lulavs, I save them, I dry them. I try to dry them out. And I save them. That way they don't mold. Because if you just put them away, they can mold. You dry them out, and then you put them, and you save them. And you save them, it's both. It's good. I remember, where did I even get the idea of saving all these things? Not just, I read this in the Mamre Hazal, but my father told me, I couldn't believe this. I don't know, I was like already an adult, and he's like, and I've been saving the afikomans for like the last 20 years. I have afikomans of every year, I save them. I wonder if anyone in the family, someone doesn't feel like a little afikoman, he eats it, they feel better. It's Segulot, it's beracha, I save. So my dad's like, oh, you have 20 years? He goes, I have mine from Beirut, Lebanon. I'm like, what? What are you joking? I don't believe you. He's like, yeah, come. He went up, he has it in the safe. He has a little safe, he takes it out. He has a afikoman from Beirut, Lebanon. And so I said to myself, I thought it was like I was in Hadash Hadash. Like that's where I got my idea from. So it was funny, but it was great. Okay, let's take a look. He says, bring down here also, like I told you earlier, Haragil ben El Habyan lo banim tamidei chachamim. But the Ma'iri, the Rav Meiri, he brings down Medayek. He says specifically, Haragil ben El derech hibuv mitzvah yiskil banim tamidei chachamim. He brings out another thing, the Meiri. The Meiri says if you want to have children that are Talmidei Chachamim, don't just do the mitzvah of Hanukkah, but do it with a form of love. So a lot of people are like, okay, I love Hanukkah. What would I do? What would I do? I'm done. I love it. No. The Meiri wasn't just telling you love Hanukkah. When he meant love Hanukkah, he meant, okay, you want to love the mitzvah? Okay, take it seriously. Get the best quality materials, study the subject, study the story. Did you ever read the story of the Hashmonaim? Did you read about who they were? Did you understand the battle? What was all the miracles? Did you see the Beit Yosef's 9 opinions, which we're going to talk about, of what was the miracle the first day? Why is the holiday even 8 days? It should be 7 days. How many branches are on the Menorah? 7. So why would we have 8 days of the holiday? You understand? And we're gonna get to that question. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to that question now in a minute too. So he says, how does a person love the mitzvah? By doing and studying all the subject of it. And we use over here Hanukkah B'Tzion from Rav Mutzafi, directly from the author Cham Ovadia Yosef Toledano. He's the grandson of Cham Ovadia. We saw him recently by the Haftarah of Ham David. He wrote the book. I have any questions, I reach out to him. And so we follow. That's how a person would love the mitzvah. If ever a person wants to go deeper in learning Torah, and really fulfilling the mitzvot with real focus and concentration, it's really simple. Study the subject and its enhancement. Don't add more to the mitzvah before studying why you are doing it. A lot of times, people try to be a little bit gung-ho with trying to be machmir. Okay, let me just add more. And so I tell people, it's great. No, never tell anyone not to be machmir. But before you are machmir, make sure you're doing the core with the most kavanah, the most intense concentration, the understanding. Are you doing it with love? Do you even understand the opinions as to what you're doing? Then when you start to understand the basis, then you can, if you want to add more to it, add more later. And it enhances your mitzvah to make it much, much more. You know, especially with tefillin, you know, the whole idea of wearing 2 tefillins like Rabbeinu Tam, which is great. You see a lot of people doing it today, especially amongst the Sfaradim. Sometimes people wear 2, but there's extra restrictions, because to wear another Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, like the Shulchan Aruch brings down, you have to be Yirat Shamayim, you have to be Yirat Hashem. You have to be someone who fears God. You know, that means, you know, not talking in shul, not doing certain things that could possibly interfere with that. So always the focus on the mitzvah, trying to understand the core of it. And with Hanukkah, there's so many different opinions. Like I was telling you, Murray, before, like why was the holiday 8, not 7? What was the whole idea of the holiday is that they found the jug, right? And the jug, what was the miracle? Is that instead of lasting just for one night, how many nights did it last for?
8.
7. How did it last for 8? It lasted for 7. How many branches are on the Menorah on the Beit HaMikdash? 7. What was the whole issue? Is that it took a week for them to get the
Why do we have 8?
okay, we're going to answer that question tonight. Okay. So, it took a week to make the oil. But I understand they had enough oil for the first night. So what exactly was the miracle on the first night? The holiday should be 7 nights. It's 7 branches. The oil that they had left over was 7. Good. What is it? So the Beit Yosef, who's the Rabbi Yosef Karo, he asked this question, and he comes up with 9 different opinions, and I'm going to give them to you. I summarized them in clear and concise way, so you can see what are them. So the first thing is, when they realized they only had 1 jug that was only good for 1 night, what did they do? They decided that they divided the oil into 1/8 of the glass. So normally they would fill up just the full thing. Instead they did 1/8. Why 1/8? So they had enough for the first day, plus a week to get it back. And so what was the miracle there? That it lit all night until the morning time, even though there was 1/8. 1/8. Generally, you should have lit 1/8 of the time. Instead, the miracle was the first night, like, wow, oh my God, it just lit the whole night. And then the second night, they lit also 1/8, and it lit the whole night again. That was the miracle. Okay. The second one is that the first night, they couldn't put 1/8, because you can't put 1/8 of oil in the menorah. That's not the halakha. You can't just make up halachot and do a minimal halakha because the guy doesn't have leftover oil. So what it is, the first night, they filled it up to the full top, because that's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is you got to fill the top. You can't just do half. And in the morning, when they went to go see the menorah, the glass was still filled. It lit all night, and they came in the morning, no oil was consumed. That was the second one. The third one, they filled the menorah to the top. The menorah was filled all the way to the top, but the oil jug stayed full and never depleted. What does that mean? It was like the Baba Sali's arak. What was it? They had the jug. They filled up the menorah to the top, but then they looked inside. Oh, there's still a little oil left. They did it the second night. Oh, there's still a little oil left, and the jug just never depleted. So that was the third. The fourth, they poured 1/8 of oil into the menorah. But the menorah filled itself to the top using 1/8 of oil by itself, and the jug only used 1/8 of oil. So what they did is they took 1/8 of oil from the jug into it, and they filled up 1/8. They filled everything up right correctly. While they're finishing filling it up, they're seeing that the oil is just rising by itself. And it rose all the way to the top, it lit, and then it went back down to the bottom. And then every night the same thing. They'd only light 1/8, and as they finished preparing them, they're watching it, the oil is slowly going up. And there are many miracles in the Beit HaMikdash, so this, could have been a commonplace thing. Okay, so that was it. The fifth one, they divided the oil into 1/8 of the glass in the menorah, the bazichim, and they made thin wicks so the oil would light all night. So you see they did two things here. They lit 1/8 of oil because they only had it, and they also put thin wicks so that it didn't use a lot of the flame. So what's the miracle there? Is that the flame lit bright as if it was filled with oil with thick wicks. So they put only 1/8 with thin, but it ended up being as if it was a full bright oil with the. Now another kicker on that fifth one. Yeah, on this fifth one, you know what's even triple miracle is that I told you before, normally where do they have to light the menorah? Inside the Hechal, in the Kodesh. That location was a room compartment that was completely close to the elements from the rain, wind, snow, and it was completely sealed. Lighting in there produces a different type of light and flame and longevity to the oil than doing it outside in the elements. And so even with 1/8 of oil and thin wicks, it lighting and being lit all night is even a bigger, more tremendous mitzvah because it was done outside. Try lighting a candle indoor and outdoor and see how fast it goes out outdoor. And here it didn't. So that's even further to it. Next thing, the sixth, the jug of oil wasn't even enough for one night. When they had the jug, they opened it, they tried to fill and use it. It wasn't even enough for one night, even the first night. And so it was a miracle that what they did use and have lasted for all nights because they didn't even have enough for the first night. And so the first night was also a miracle, not just the 7. Next, number 7, is that the first night, you don't even light for the remembering anything other than the battle. And the remaining nights, the 7 nights, is for the jug of oil. So the first night was because we won the battle against the Greeks. That's what we're celebrating on day 1. The next 7 days was because of the oil. So there's 2 things that you're celebrating on the holiday. Okay, number 8 is the first night you light because the Hashmonaim, what did they do? They re-inaugurated the Beit HaMikdash and the Mizbeach after the Greeks desecrated and had full control. What do you mean full control? Just so you understand, full control means that the Greeks had their military and their law enforcement on site in the Beit HaMikdash. They were in control. What that meant is that Jews could have went to the Beit HaMikdash, but they just couldn't serve in the way that they wanted. They couldn't bring Kohanim and they think, don't go so far. Just like it is today in Israel in the Temple Mount. Not that a Jew, it's asur to go according to most of the opinions on the Temple Mount and many of the locations that are actually have Kedusha. But there, it's also not fully in the control of us. It's in the control of the Wakaf and others. So, don't go so far. It's not like it's such a outlandish idea. So when they took over, one of the celebration was that they got rid of the Greeks. That the Greeks were no longer there. I mean, they can have full control of it. So the first night we light in order to commemorate the Hanukkah Mizbeach, the re-inauguration of the Mizbeach in the Beit HaMikdash. That's why you do the first night. The 7 nights is because of the oil. The other reason I gave you was because they won the battle. Here he's not telling you about the battle. Here he's telling you because they re-inaugurated the Mizbeach. We don't celebrate battles. Hazal generally don't celebrate battles. We're not Isav. It's part of the process maybe where it could be an addition to the holiday, but generally winning battles is not something that we've made holidays on. So that's another thing. And the 9th reason is that we celebrate 8 nights to commemorate the Brit Milah, which was on the 8th day, and the Jews were willing to give up their life for Brit Milah, which is also on the 8th day. And so the Greeks, one of their main things was that they didn't want people to do Brit Milah, so they wanted to ban it. Don't go so far. It's tried to have been banned in New York City. It's banned. I think in some places in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure, but there's places where it's banned, and the Greeks had banned it too. So the Jewish people had continued doing Brit Milah, but at risk that if they get caught, they would get killed. And so this was actually where the custom came to light candles out, like candles at a Brit Milah. what they used to do is they used to light candles outside the house of the person whose wife gave birth to a baby boy to signal to everybody that that day was going to be the Brit Milah. So what they do is, you ever notice that table in High Lebanon or SLC, that round table with the two levels, and they put the dollars inside, for the tzedakah, and then they light the candles. That's a big mitzvah. That's an old custom, and I always just see Rabbi Mansour do it. So I always go. I always light it also, and I put this. Try to do the tzedakah also, and it's a good thing. It's brought down that this was from the time of the Greeks, that when they were not allowed to do the Brit Milah, they would light that little style candle outside the house, and it'd be awkward. Why would someone light a candle outside their house in the morning? Probably Brit Milah. It was like secret code, and it was like
Also, we learned in Shul Saturday during the Greeks. They didn't allow us to read Sefer Torah.
So we did the Haftarah. Yeah, we're gonna get to that now. We're gonna get to the Haftarah. Yeah, they would do that, and so they lit these candles outside. And so what we do today is that we light it inside, obviously. But that's also the zecher from the time of the Greeks that they wanted to get the Brit Milah. So the ninth reason is that Brit Milah was a core component. That's why in Hanukkah, what's one of the greetings that we say on Hanukkah? Hanukkah Sameach. Why do we say? We don't say Chag Sameach. It's not a Chag. The only Chags is Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. So it's not a Chag. So it would be Hanukkah Sameach or Purim Sameach. But why Hanukkah Sameach specifically? Because Sameach, there were three really cardinal mitzvot that the Greeks were trying to take out, which is the first one. Shin is Shabbat. Okay, what's the mem? Milah. And what's het? Is Chodesh. Chodesh. What was the Chodesh? The Birkat HaLevana. They wanted to take out the first mitzvah. Chodesh Hashem Lachem Rosh Chodashim. So they wanted Shabbat. Also, HaShekhinah, they wanted to remove the Shekhinah, God. They were not against killing Jews. The Greeks were not out to murder the Jewish people. They're just out to convert them. It's like, listen, do whatever you want. Just assimilate. As long as you assimilate inside, fine. Haman was different. Haman in Purim was out to kill everybody. He didn't care. He was a Hitler style. He didn't care about what anyone had to. He didn't care Jew. He didn't want to hear stories. The Greeks were a little bit different, and so they also were getting rid of the Shekhinah. That's why if you take the word HaShekhinah with a hey, it's Gimatria Shemen, oil, which we're going to get to now as to which. Then you had also the Milah, and also the Mem is the Mezuzah, also Menorah. Not that they were restricting them; they were restricting the Mezuzah, but that's also the same location. Why were the Greeks restricting the Mezuzah? In what way? Is that they had created a law that there were no doors allowed on the front doors of the Jewish homes. No doors. So Jews were not allowed to have a door in the front. They wanted the culture from outside to be in the home of the Jew, and they wanted to be able to have easy access to just walk in and out and see what people were doing in the Jewish homes. And so it took away privacy. Tziniut is Kedusha. That was the main thing. And the Chet is a Chodesh. A lot of times people think, what's the big deal? Chodesh. HaChodesh is more than that. It's that not only just our first mitzvah, is that it's Birkat HaLevana, it's the timing of our mitzvot. All our mitzvot are time. Every mitzvah we have is time-based. Wake up in the morning, pray. Shacharit, time. You can pray until this time. Say Shema until this time. Mincha until this time. Arvit until this time. Birkat HaLevana is from this time. You can do the holiday on the 15th of the month. And that's it. Everything is time. So that what they're really saying is no month, is they're saying, get rid of your calendar. Just forget about Zmanim, no more myzmanim.com, get rid of all that stuff, and just get rid of your Chodesh. So what we do, we say Chanukah Sameach. When we say Sameach, we're happy that we got rid of them and that we still have all these mitzvot. And so you signal in that. Now, there's different opinions of what kind of oil to use on the Menorah. Rav Mutzafi brings down that you should not buy the prepackaged oils that are coming from China, because all of them that he tested, all of them, he said all of them, he didn't say some of them, that they're all not olive oil. There's almost no olive oil in it, and it's also completely poisonous, not edible, and there isn't an inyan to use oil that's edible oil in the menorah. There is that inyan. And he said, furthermore, there are toxic fumes from them. Some of them have been chemically tested to be completely poisonous, just like having propane being lit in the home. So his opinion is, if you can't find pure olive oil, that's good, clean olive oil from the supermarket, then use canola oil. Use that. But what do we recommend from the other Sfarim and from the other Hachamim is to buy olive oil that's edible olive oil. Buy a good high quality olive oil and use that. And even those olive oils that are 100% pure, extra virgin olive oil, almost all that have been tested are not 100% pure. They're mixed with other oils. Recently, I was lucky, a guy here in Deal, good friend of mine, he had access to some olive oil from Italy. So I was at his house, we had dinner on Shabbat, and I tasted the oil, and I was like, this is unbelievable. This is not normal olive oil. It's like, yeah, it comes in a regular tin from Italy. It doesn't come in a fancy bottle. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you know what? I took 4 containers, 4 large, 10 liters of each one. I ordered from the guy, and I had to order more. It's the real thing. It's like it comes from the farm in Italy. The guy somehow got access to this. I don't know, and I found out that it's being used in all the restaurants in Manhattan. So I got that all. I use it now for eating. That's an olive oil that's suitable to use for lighting and for the mitzvah. And if a person doesn't have olive oil, the other alternative is wax. Now I did see from the Rashash. Someone mentioned from the Rashash. I didn't see it directly as a primary research, but I did see from someone that mentioned that the Rashash recommends to use wicks and candle wax. Why? He says sha'ava. Sha'ava is as certain things with the kavanot, sha, and then the vav hey, and he was trying to tie in olamot yesh, shai olamot, sha'ava. He was trying to tie in a lot of different things in that. I haven't seen that done so often because I see all the Gedolim, I see all the Hachamim all using oil today. So the best thing is to use a true olive oil, and to even go further is when you do the cotton, you could even have the cotton done yourself. Get cotton and roll them together. I remember seeing Hacham Nisim Abadi in his house on Friday before Shabbat. How would he do? 5-10 minutes, you'd see him there. He'd take the cotton balls or wherever you get the cotton, and he would make the wicks himself. He would put it together, make sure they were thin together, and he would put it all together, and he'd do them. This is called chibuv mitzvah. It's called the love of the mitzvah. It's, as opposed to just getting a menorah, it's all pre-done, it's all the thing. You just pull off a cap, you light it. It happens to be, it's probably the mitzvah is not even a great mitzvah. The guy might think he's going to Gan Eden with that mitzvah. He thinks he's going to sit next to, Rabbi Akiva and the Hashmonaim when he gets up there. And he's like, I did the mitzvah right. All he's going to find out is like, hey, buddy, that's not even oil. That was like, some chemical, byproduct. It was toxic. It wasn't even good. It wasn't edible. It wasn't. And then, the location. Did you do the minorah on the right location? So all these things are important, And I think that as we learn, we get older, is, we don't have to do extras. Don't do any chumras. Let's just go deep into what we've got to do. Do it right. Get the mitzvah. Understand it. Love the mitzvah. Let's do it ourselves. And I think if we take these ideas, you could really make the mitzvot so much better. It really goes much more. Let's go through a couple of questions now. There is a question. I told you there were different levels, the 15 levels of what kind of menorahs to use. What happens if a guy gets one of these menorahs and he puts a glass cup inside of it, like we see today? How do we light them? We take any menorah and you have a glass cup, and in the glass cup you put the oil with a floater and the wick, and then you light. Would that mean that his menorah would automatically be degraded at all times to the level of glass? So the Hachamim speak about this as opposed to just lighting inside of the cup of the base of the menorah. And they say, no, the maskana, it bases itself to the actual Chanukiah, and it wouldn't be there. They bring down that it is a mitzvah to light it in shul in the morning. When they go to shul, they light the Hanukkah in the morning as well. He brings down that Rav Salman Mutzafi would prepare the Hanukkah himself in the morning. When he would get up, obviously he would prepare to any of this, tefillot, whatever it was, and he would prepare it in the morning. He wouldn't prepare it in the evening.
For the night.
Yes, for the morning he would prepare it for the next evening as opposed to doing before. So that's also a good custom, preparing. You come back, it's already all ready. Chacham Bajab brings down that what's the right time to light? It should be 20 minutes after Shki'ah, and the flame should last 30 minutes after Tzit. So with that, you need a good 30 minutes at least that it's going to light. Anyway, most of the time when you fill up these oil containers, they'll last that time for sure. On Friday, you add a little bit more oil so that it could last longer, because you're going to light 20 minutes prior to Shki'ah as opposed to Shki'ah. He brings down that if you're not home during Shki'ah, that if your wife is home with the kids, she could light with the kids during the right time with a beracha, and that would cover you. Today, if you're coming home, after an hour later, 2 hours later, and you want to do it together with the kids, you can do it. He does bring down also Salman Mutzafi would normally light it, I told you, 20 minutes after Shki'ah, so it would last until after Tzit, 30 minutes. But one time, one of his family members, one of the kids, were late, and they were over an hour late, and he refused to light the Hanukkah until everyone in the house would be home for Pirsum Nisa. And so we've done that many times when the kids would come late. I would make sure that we light it all together. So to do it, and it shows value that the kids are important. You have them there. You light, and just not lighting the mitzvah to get it done with and move on. You do it together with the family. And let's see what else he brings down. He says that it's also a good custom from the old Sephardic communities of the old country that they would put in the cups a little bit of water. Before they put the oil in, put a little bit of water. The water will settle to the bottom because oil always will settle to the top. And he brings down, and he said there is also a little bit of a hint, the remez in it, in that the letter mem is numerically equals 40, and those are 40 things that are asur on Shabbat. It's the lamed tet melachot arba'im hasera achat, 39. So that's the mem. Then from the word mayim, after mem you have yud. Yud is keneged the brit milah. That letter is keneged the brit milah. And then the ot mem, that's closed, is like a moon. A moon is all closed, the mem. So he says you should add a little mayim, because the mayim is equaling 3 of the mitzvot that the Greeks were trying to take away. The mem is the 40 melachot of Shabbat, arba'im chaser achat. The yud is the brit milah, and then the mem is the levana, is the shape of the moon. So those are the 3. So when you add a little water to the shem, and you add a tiny little bit of water, you also have that kavanah. And so he brings down from Chacham Salman, he would also do that as well. He also says Chacham Salman would prepare in the shul a copper Hanukkah. So I have my customs. I got a copper mix of brass Hanukkah that I use. And you put a little water inside each cup. And he said that Chacham Salman's wife would prepare the pitilot, and he would have it all ready for the shul. So in the shul, he would prepare it, he would do it. And it's a good custom in the shul, as opposed to, just buying it and having the shamash do it. If there's a guy in the shul that he wants to take upon himself to do this mitzvah, and he's a good guy, he has good intentions, and he's going to use the right materials, let a guy that use it, as opposed to just taking it from a box. Having the live of every person in the kahal to have a piece of it is a much more kedusha. He says here, the mother did it. They use it in the shul. It's better instead of just taking it from somewhere else. And he would take, of course, I told you, from the dekel, the schach tree. He would take it and put it inside, along with the cotton. And how would he set it on the bottom? Use the button to be the base to hold the wick. He would take a metal button. He would put the wick inside the button hole, and then the button would hold the wick straight in the cup of the oil. I think he brings it down here. I don't know why. Interesting kaftor. And that's all he has here. Let's take a look at anything else he brings in. He says here that when he would light his ner shamash, he would be specific not to use olive oil. He would use a different lower grade olive oil for the shamash in order to signify that it wasn't important of it. And it's interesting, but I'll give you guys a little hidush that we said over during Sukkot, which I thought was a great message from the Chachmei Musar on the holiday of Hanukkah. We see on the holiday of Hanukkah that we have to light 8 lights, and then we light a 9th. That's called the Shamash. In the Beit HaMikdash, that's not how it was. There were 7, and there was a center one that was the 7th. It was 6, 3 on each side, and the center one was the 7th, and they all had a chiyuv. The center one in the Beit HaMikdash was not a shamash of lower quality. It was equal to all of them. And on the holiday of Sukkot, we're going to tie in Sukkot to the holiday, because like Chacham Salman would do, is he would take from the schach and connect it to the holiday with the wicks. We're going to tie it into on the holiday of Sukkot. It's also a little bit of an anomaly, because what do? We take 4 species. We take the lulav, the etrog, the hadas, and the arava. We take 4 things. And we lift them all together, and we make the beracha al netilat lulav. That we're lifting the lulav. Yeah, but what about the hadas etrog? What about the rest then? Why don't we say al netilat arba minim, daled minim, al netilat lulav v'shlosha minim, al lulav ve'etrog? Why is it that we said the beracha and we only hold it with the lulav in our right hand? We don't even touch the etrog. And you tell me that the etrog is the sadiq, keneged the sadiq, and it's so important, and it smells good, tastes good, looks good, it's everything. And then when it comes to the beracha, you don't even touch him. You're holding the group. That's the lulav, which is the benoni guy. You have the arava, you have the hadas. Arava is the rasha. You have the arava, the hadas. The hadas is the one who smells good but doesn't taste good. The arava doesn't taste good, doesn't smell good. But why are you making a bracha on all these 3? And you leave them. And what does it do with the shamash? What's the shamash even doing there? And why are we downgrading him with a different oil? Or are we downgrading him? Maybe we're not. Maybe we're upgrading him. And so, if you see the Benoni, there's different types of Jews, but the Benoni is the lulav. And with this lulav Jew, what does he do? He ties himself, because in order to have the lulav properly, you have to have it as an agudah. You have to tie it. Meaning, it is okay to just pick them all up, but if you want to do the mitzvah right, you have to have a lulav, you have to have the hadas and the arava, and you got to tie them together. It's got to be actually tied. And when it's tied, it's actually one. So when the lulav, when a person that is a benoni, he ties himself to other Jews. Sometimes the regular Jew is maybe doesn't smell so good, doesn't taste so good. Maybe he connects himself to the Jew who smells good, but doesn't taste so good. And he ties himself to other Jews. That's a big aliyah in the eye of the Chachamim. It's an important component of the Chachamim. And it's such an important component that when it comes to making the beracha, they tell you to lift all of these 3, but we're going to only mention the lulav, which is the person, the benoni, that ties himself to a person that is like an arava and like a hadas. And we give him so much kavod that we make a beracha with him, and we hold him in our right hand and we lift him up. And we don't even touch the etrog, which is keneged the sadiq, because sadiq is very important. But he sometimes can't be with the people all the time. He can't be attached to the people. Same thing on the holiday of Hanukkah, you have the shamash. The shamash is one of the candles that he's not really needed. And what is he there for? One of the reasons he's there for is so that if the other lights went out in the room, you would have only pleasure and hana'ah from the shamash light, not from the other ones, because the other lights are holy lights that we don't want to read from them, we don't have any pleasure from them. So it's from the one that's left over, that shamash. That's generally why we do it. And also, if one of the lights go out, you can just take from the shamash as opposed to another one of the candles. But there too, the shamash, you always notice, is higher and separate from them. So he almost has like a distinguishment that's almost like special. You got a front row seat. That's pretty nice. And what's the message there too? What were the Chachamim trying to tell us here? And I think the Chachamim Musar are trying to say is that the Jew that ties himself to other Jews, who's willing to take from himself like an oil and light other Jews up, he's not responsible to do that. He's just a shamash. And no one told you to do that. You didn't have to do it. And he goes from himself, when he ties from himself, he gives more from the people. and it gives more back to Klal Yisrael. And if you look back into history, that is exactly what made Klal Yisrael so strong, is that Jews gave from themselves in every way, whether it was Gimlut Hasadim, Torah, Limut Torah, writing, in every component. And that's what made him important. We separate him and we give him distinguishment. We do it with the Shamash, we do it with the Lulav, to the point that we make the Beracha with them. And I think this is an important component. When you look at the holiday, like Chacham Salman would do, he made sure, I'm not going to light it alone. If one of the kids not there, we light it when everyone's there together. Doesn't mean that they should be late on purpose, but it does give them, it does give that extra boost of the holiday being about people. Sukkot being Hag Simcha, being about people. The holiday of Hanukkah, again, about people. And I think if we take this message, we'll have a much bigger aliyah on the holiday. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen.